Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and here we are continuing our focus on Total Warhammer 3 factions, looking at the possible lords and heroes that could be added to the faction. This started because of a passion that I have for Warhammer Fantasy Battle and the passion I have for the Total Warhammer games, which are keeping the old world, as it's now known, alive. Now, we've recently had the roadmap showing legendary lords and heroes being added to the game over the next 12 months. Harry the Hammer as a legendary hero has just been added to the Warriors of Chaos. Now, we're doing this in alphabetical order, and we've now reached the Ogre Kingdoms. And as in the previous videos, we are trying to focus on those lords and heroes that have had models and rules and that were present in their 8th edition or army books, or the last edition of an army book that they had, because that seems to be generically where Creative Assembly have gone. There, of course, they have created both factions and lords that weren't in books or had rules. But we do want to kind of narrow it down. There's decades of lore, hundreds of books, and so there's lots of characters out here that could be added. But I'm trying to stick to the ones that are the most famous and have a nice narrow list. So now that we're on the Ogre Kingdoms introduced in Total Warhammer 3, it's always been my least favourite faction, both on the tabletop and in the game. And in fact, I have never played an Ogre Kingdom campaign in Total Warhammer 3. I will do it one day just to do it, but I haven't done it to date. Everyone's got their own personal choices. This one's just not for me. But if we look at the current lords in here, and for the sake of completeness, we currently have Greaser's Goldtooth and Scrag the Slaughterer. Both were lords in the 8th edition army book. Now, if we look at the other possible lords, and given actually how few Ogre Kingdoms do currently have, there are 3 other lords that were in the 8th edition book. You've got Gark Ironskin, who I think would be quite an interesting addition. His story is he was hit over the head by his father, a nail from the club stuck in his head, and according to his bodyguard, he continued a fascination with metal thereafter, covering himself and his mount and the rest of his tribe becoming obsessed with metal, which I think is really quite interesting. It makes him quite tough. He gets like an iron Rhinox. He has iron skin armor, for example, and so could make quite an interesting legendary lord, I think. He also has a very big alliance with the Chaos Dwarfs, and that's due to his obsession with metal. The Groth One Finger is another legendary lord, probably my least favourite out of the 3 here, but he was the first prophet of the Great Moor, and is obsessed with. He's considered a madman, but he's obsessed with the coming of an ogre god. So you've got that one. And he also, Groth One Finger, just to note, he was actually the first butcher to come about. You've also got Morg Magmaborn. He starts off as an original ogre that eventually, through going on a pilgrimage towards Firemouth, eventually becomes a Firebelly. And so you got a Firebelly lord there, which I think would be quite interesting. He was a lord in the 8th edition book as well. When we move on to the heroes, there are no current legendary heroes for Ogre Kingdoms, but there are 4 in the 8th edition book, or the 8th edition armies, of which you've got Golfag Maneater. Now, he would be my first choice. He's a mercenary captain, so I think he would make a really nice legendary hero choice and could be found all over the place, could go into any army, no problem. You've got Brag the Gutsman. He's the champion executioner of the ogres, so again, a nice different look to a hero. If you're going to have a legendary hero, it's nice to have them look different than other heroes in the game. But yeah, Brag the Gutsman, Champion Executioner would be an interesting one. You've got Brad the Slave Lord, I think, would be a tough one to do. Known as the Corpse Slaver, was captured by a necromancer, escapes, but known as being able to enslave both the living and the dead. That one's quite interesting. Essentially, I mean, he's a man-eater. That's what he is. But yeah, captured by a necromancer, which gives him some interesting abilities that I think would be reasonably tough to put in as a legendary hero. And then you've got Jared the Red, who is technically the first hunter. And so he would be an interesting choice for me. I think, I mean, they're all interesting. I think Browth the Slave Lord would be the most difficult to put in, but Golfag as a mercenary captain, I think, just fits the best. But having Bragg the Gutsman as an executioner or Jared the Red as a hunter in there as well, all do have their value. All had rules in a book, so it's quite clear kind of what they do and how they would fit into the faction as a whole. So I think Ogre Kingdoms, while certainly not a favourite faction of mine, there's lots of possibilities, lots of very viable possibilities there in terms of really fleshing the faction out. Maybe seeing them out and about in the world a bit more, and we've already seen that with a number of sort of minor factions that are also out in the world for the Ogre Kingdoms. And I know there's a lot of people out there that really do love the faction and would love to see them fleshed out some more. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And if you disagree with anything I've said, then please feel free to put comments down below and we can have a discussion about who and why you think a particular lord or hero should be added to the Ogre Kingdoms faction. And as always, if you want to see more of these videos, please hit that subscribe button. It's totally free for you to do, but it means a huge amount for me, so thank you for that one in advance. You've been watching The Ghost Owl, and I'll see you very soon.